SpongeBob my ass.
I'm only 4. Bonjour, Monsieur Pussycat.
Cracking toast, Gromit.
Start spreading the news.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a short podcast about short films. I'm your host, and we are discussing the Academy Award for Best Animated Short. Today's episode is about the 78th year of the award at the 82nd Academy Awards, which celebrates the films of 2009. Today's guest is appearing for the third time. You last heard him discussing The Sandcastle and the nominees of 1977. Please welcome back Casey Young. Hello, Casey.
Hi.
It's an
Thank you
honor.
for having me.
Thank you for coming back on. It's like we always have so much fun talking about these films, and so why not bring you back for a third time?
Oh, shucks. Thank you.
Oh, but remind us, what is your familiarity with the best animated short category?
Literally your podcast. Um, I I think when I was into the Oscars, I wasn't really watching like whatever what is it, the Big Ten or something. Like after that, I wasn't really paying a lot of attention, and then I've just slowly kind of fizzled even further out of paying attention to awards and things like that. So a lot of these movies I have not heard of.
Mm-hmm. That's very understandable, but hopefully I'm changing your mind and like making you want to watch more animated shorts or things like that.
Hey, thank you, it's working.
All right. So let's just move right along. But before we even get to the nominees this year, this is a short film centric podcast, but there is also a Best Animated Feature category at the Academy Awards. So to be fair to them, Casey, I will just list off the names of the nominees for Best Animated Feature one by one, and I want you to tell me in just one word what you think of them, or simply say you haven't seen it. You ready?
Okay, sure.
Okay, first we have the winner, which is Up.
Great.
Second, we have Coraline.
Mid.
Oh my God. Third, we have Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Best.
Four, we have The Princess and the Frog.
Good? Question mark.
Five, we have The Secret of the Kells.
I haven't seen that one.
All right. That was great. Let's just move on. Our first nominee and the year's winner is Logorama, directed by Francois Alou, Hervé de Crécy, and Ludovic Ublan, who collectively represent the animation studio H5. None of those men were listed for the Oscar nomination, however. Instead, this becomes the first and only nomination for Nicholas Schmerken, who isn't even listed on the film's Wikipedia page at all, though it was his company Auteur de Minuit that produced the film. I'll tell the story of this film exactly how its directors tell its story, starting with a similar idea that Ublan had done for a music video for The Child by Alex Gopher, the first music video by H5, which featured a world made entirely of text. This then led to expanding the idea to instead making a world of logos, meaning not just words, but brand images and mascots. They even had gotten in contact with George Harrison, of all people, wanting to make a music video with him decrying consumerism. But it wasn't long before Harrison had passed away, and they had to keep shopping the idea around. It was then that they met Nicholas Schmerken. They pitched their idea to him, and he loved it. He helped open the doors for them, get in contact with the animation studios and financiers, and everyone to get this film made. It would end up taking 4 years to make the film, including 2.5 just for the animation. The film is most well known for its creative decision of having every character, building, and object be a corporate logo or mascot. And while they haven't encountered any legal trouble with the film, Hublan even said that some companies reached out to ask why they weren't in the film, the main trouble was making all the logos work together in the environment. They had to essentially remake every logo by hand and rig it as a 3D model so it could be in the film. They had downloaded nearly 50,000 logos and mascots and other iconography, but ended up only using less than 3,000. They made an original animatic for the animators using After Effects and combined it with some reference footage of the animators acting out the movie, as well as some shots from action movies by John McTiernan and the Scott brothers, Tony and Ridley. He, they let the animators get to work, essentially rotoscoping the logos over the footage they had in many scenes, and wanting the film to feel like a live action movie with camera movements that could be accomplished that way, but just with logos everywhere. And with that, the film was complete. It debuted at the Cannes Film Festival as part of Critics Week, winning an award there, and was as well as ending up nominated for two César Awards for both Best Short Film and Best Animated Film, winning the former. It has since become an icon of animation at this time period and parodied by many people, including The Simpsons, and also David Fincher voices a Pringle in this movie. Logorama is about two Michelin men who are cops chasing Ronald McDonald in 48 States delivery truck, who both party uh, with both parties causing much collateral damage. When he crashes the truck, Ronald McDonald takes Big Boy hostage, and suddenly an earthquake begins to destroy Los Angeles. Casey, what did you think of Logorama?
I I can't believe that any of what you said was true. I can't believe that. I mean, I think that like story-wise, filmmaking-wise, right? Up until like that sequence with the earthquake, it's like pretty okay. It's like okay, this is funny. I get the plot. I don't get the logo obsession. I feel like it's just kind of it feels pretty gimmicky to me. It's like, all right, yeah, I've seen these things before. I'm not. I felt like its use was pretty unoriginal in my opinion. But also animation is hard. Big props, redrawing logos. But yeah, I was pretty bored by it personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm going to explain my history of this film. So, of course, I've seen this film before. I've watched all these nominees in the past before doing this podcast, and this was the worst film I had seen in this is the entire category. And when I first watched it, it was literally worse than everything else, in my opinion. Um, on this rewatch, I'm a bit kinder to it. It's not the worst thing, but it's still pretty bad. Like the only real compliment I have for it is the fact that I do think it looks nice. I think they actually did do a really good job of making sure that all the logos blend together in this film and that it looks somewhat visually appealing despite being just a bunch of logos everywhere. It's like it doesn't look bad, which is even hard to do, like considering that this is a computer animated film in the 2000s by people who don't really have that big of a budget.
Mhm.
But that's where the compliments end because uh this is just the most generic story that there it's just a generic crime movie. And it's like the generic crime movie doesn't really have any impact with the fact that this world is made of logos. And it's like and the only like reasoning for the logos is just like, oh, consumerism is bad. It's like they don't ever do anything with any of the logos specifically outside of just like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Ronald McDonald had a gun? Ooh. It's just like there's no thought here. It's just like okay, we have a logo. What if it did something bad? It's just so stupid and basic, and it's like you could do something good here, but you aren't. It's just nothing. And it's like and so and then the plot like I was saying, it's just a generic crime movie. It's like, oh, they got the cops, they go after Ron McDonald, and then but then there's the earthquake for some reason, and it's destroying everything. Everybody's dying. It's a fucking car chase with Big Boy and the ESO girl, and they just fucking end up on the little island off the coast. And it's just like, what's going on here? Why are we doing this? It's just there's so much potential here. You could have had a really good, interesting movie here if you just had a better story that actually justified using logos to tell it, but you didn't. And so it's just bad.
Go off.
Yeah,
It's true.
yeah, it's true. This movie just ain't good. It's basically it would have more value. Like there's more artistic value in just like one of those Sporkle quizzes where it's just you just name the logo you see. And just to be clear, I did steal that from former or previous guest on this show, Christoph. It's in his Letterboxd review. But anyway, bad movie.
Bad movie. Unfortunate.
Do you have any like any little tidbits that you want to point out? Like any notable scenes in the movie that you were memorable for one way or the other?
Um, the blind cheetah joke was really great, in my opinion. And I mean, who doesn't think Green Giant is super hot?
Green Giant is pretty sexy. I did like when just Ronald McDonald just hit the shit out of the fucking Haribo kid and like you uh, and I did I wish the Esso girl had more screen time. She was great. She was fun. I think she should have been the main character of this. But and it was just weird that the David Fincher Pringle just smacked her ass though. At least I think it was the David Fincher Pringle. I can't tell. There's two of them that have voices. One of them is David Fincher, the other one isn't. I'm not sure which is which. But yeah,
Google it. We don't have to do all the work for you guys. Google it.
I did try googling it. It just says Pringle.
Oh, it just says Pringle. That's funny.
But maybe there's maybe he voices both of them. Maybe that's the best case scenario.
Hey, that's great. Well, that's gross, David Fincher. Don't do that.
David Fincher, stop harassing women. I'm holding you responsible for the actions of your character in this movie.
You know, you're right. We should stop eating Pringles.
Mm-hmm.
Boycott Pringles because they're sexist.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. Fuck Pringles. Eat only Jolly Green Giant vegetables.
Yeah.
Also, there's this like one brief shot of where it's like the fucking Linux penguin. He's just in the zoo and he's just on his little ice floor or whatever, and he just slides off of it. It's a very quick nothing joke, but it did get a chuckle out of me. It's just like we're just immediately slides on screen, briefly does like the specific pose, and then falls into the water.
I totally missed that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's literally a blink and you miss it joke, but I liked it. But yeah, it's this, like I said, this film is literally just, it has the most interesting thing about this movie, or the most fun thing you could do with this movie, is just point and recognize logos, which I think is really devaluing the message that they were trying to go for, which is the fact that kind of like consumerism is bad. Yeah, like isn't it fucking weird that our logos pervade every aspect of our lives? And it's just like, yeah, boy. But yo, look, I found the fucking the Bank of America logo.
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyway,
that's a good point. Yeah.
so we'll
Sad.
move on. Unless you had one more thing to say. It sounded like you're going somewhere.
Oh no, just sad.
Mm-hmm.
That was all I had to say.
All right, then our second nominee is French Roast, directed by Fabrice Joubert. This is the first and only nomination for Joubert, and is a graduate from the Goblin School of Animation in Paris, which we've talked about before with Octopody last episode. Like many Goblin graduates, Jobert immediately found his way towards DreamWorks Animation, moving to LA and working on The Prince of Egypt and their other 2D animated films before going over to 3D with Shark Tale, then working on the two Aardman releases, Curse of the Were-Rabbit and Flushed Away. After Flushed Away, Joubert moved back to Paris to make this his first directorial effort. He then immediately moved back to LA to now work at Illumination Studios, working on Despicable Me, The Lorax, and co-directing two short films about the Minions. And after this came his most recent film and his first live-action effort, Safety, a short film about a school shooting. I can't find much else about his career, and I can't find anything interesting about the production of French Roast, so let's just crack on. French Roast is about a man in a cafe who's forgotten his wallet and thus has no money. The man delays the inevitable embarrassment by ordering more coffees and even considers stealing from a small nun sitting next to him who's gone off to the bathroom. And things get more intense once the chief of police walks in. So I thought that this short was funny. I liked it. I thought it was good. Uh, that's about all there is to say about it because it is just a very simple thing where it's just like we're just kind of moving around this scene, just watching the main guy be anxious as he copes with his fucking situation. It's like you see the very hairy homeless guy walk in, ask for change. You see the fucking nun go piss girl. Oh, and it's just like it's very simple, but I think I like the animation. I like the usage of just the big ass mirror that's on the wall behind him. I think that's the fact we just keep kind of the one angle that the camera moves horizontally, like perpendicular to the shot. And it's like I think this is good. I think this is interesting. I think it is fun. And that's most of what there is to say about this. Casey.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's funny. I relate, who hasn't put themselves in a situation such as the plot of French Roast.
Who
Um,
hasn't been in a situation? Fellas.
um, yeah, and I also loved the big mirror. I think too, and I feel this way about a lot of short films. Like this one, again, I haven't seen as many short films as most people. Um,
You've probably seen more short films than most people by being on this podcast.
oh wow, thank you. Well then, my opinion is God. Um, I think that I feel like this year was like I remember when I was first getting into film and you'd like watch some shorts on YouTube. This felt like a very YouTube year. Where it was like, oh cool, like this is a fun idea, and now we have like 6 more minutes left. Um, so that's how I felt about French Roast. I was like, this is like a really funny joke, like I get it. And then it was probably about like twice as long as it should have been, in my opinion.
Yeah, like I definitely see your point where it's like, well, all of them except for the final film we'll talk about, but it's like, yeah,
Right.
all of these seem like independent animators spent like 5 years just making this movie by himself. And it's like, and it goes viral, and it's like, wow, this is so funny. Pixar should hire them. And then they all do get hired by some animation studio, and they do nothing notable ever again. And it's just like it's it I do understand that vibe coming from this year. And it's like I feel like this is a good point to say that this was what I thought to be the worst year of this category ever. Um I but recently, like first of all, my opinion actually improved on a few of these shorts, including French Roast, like after rewatching them. So it's not quite as bad as it was before. And also, I decided to just go through like my ratings of every single nominee and just like rank them by like what my rating is for them and see what is the worst one, like just like average rating of the year. And it turns out there's a two-way tie. I just thought I might as well share the results. There's a two-way tie between 1958, which is when Nighty Night Bugs, the only Bugs Bunny cartoon, won the year alongside Paul Bunyan and Sydney's Family Tree. Two of those shorts are decent. One of them is terrible. And then the other one is the very first year of the category with Flowers and Trees winning alongside um I think it's Mickey's Orphans and it got me again. And like that's one mediocre short and two not good shorts where it's like, and I think the first year kind of wins out because it's like it's three just kind of whatever shorts. Meanwhile, the other year it's like two all right ones and one terrible one that drags down the rating. And also the best year in the category was actually Casey's year. Casey's last episode, 1977, with
Hey,
the Sandcastle and Doonesbury special, whatever the fucking other two was. I don't have the list in front of me, but a very good year. So yeah, just a fun fact because I like statistics, I like looking at numbers, and I just wanted to share some numbers that I found. I like to do that a lot.
thank you for sharing the numbers. I liked the numbers.
Thank you. Um, but yeah, there's not much else to say about French roast. Who was your favorite character of all the ones in this?
Um,
And
I
I'll
like
just
I
like
like.
I'll
Oh,
just
sure.
run through all the characters we have. So it's like we have the main guy who lost his wallet and he's considering crimes. We have the homeless man who's like picking up papers with his stick and asking for change whenever he walks into the store. We have the little old nun who's gone to the bathroom and has a very big suspicious purse with her. We have the owner of the cafe who's there, and we have the drunk cop.
Yeah, I think it was a tie between the probably the nun and the owner of the cafe. I just kind of liked when they interacted with the main guy, who is a great character as well.
Mm-hmm. He has some really good subtle expressions too, where it's like he kind of maintains the same face, but also you can tell how much stress he's in.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's just like who who wouldn't be like this, you know? Who among us hasn't been who hasn't considered stealing from nuns?
I know I have.
Oh, hello, police. Kidding. I'm kidding. Hello, Michelin men.
No. That was so messed up when they killed that peanut.
Yeah, that was oh my god. Yeah. Going back to Logorama randomly. Yeah, like they just fucking
Yeah.
killed the planters guy because he fucking missed. You got a straight shot at Ronald McDonald, and it was just a fucking peanut guy just stood up and got shot in the fucking head.
Ridiculous. It's not but it's why. Oh,
Also, another thing that they could have done more was like they could have. I feel like they could have done more jokes like with the logo specifically. It's like I feel like when the uh so one of the Michelin men gets killed by Ronald McDonald. I thought it would have been really funny if they like if when he shot him, like one of his tires blew up or something like that, and
oh
like he just
yeah.
fell apart. Or it's like that'd be really fun. But he didn't do that. No.
SMH.
SMH. Our third nominee is Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty, directed by Nikki Phelan. This is the first and only Oscar nomination for Phelan, but second and final nomination for producer Dara O'Connell, the co-founder of Brown Bag Films, which produced prior nominee Give Up Your All Sins. The short originated from a sketch show that Kathleen O'Rourke, the writer and star of the short, had performed in college. Phelan had watched the show while attending a different college nearby and thought the bit was hilarious. He became friends with O'Rourke, and when he started working at Brown Bag Films, he pitched the idea to become a short film. The executives said yes, and things went into production. There were a bit of growing pains in the transition from stage to screen, both with the story and with O'Rourke's performance. Apparently, with O'Rourke having to exaggerate her voice more to fit with the animation, with what the animation was going for, and to make sure that the dialogue and story had enough room to breathe within the confines of the short. Also, fun fact, this year was a notable year for Irish animation, with Cartoon Saloon's The Secret of the Kells being nominated for Best Animated Feature as well. And Nikki Phelan even went to the same school as director Tom Moore, that being Ballyfermot College in Dublin, and was able to follow that film through its production. And I want to talk briefly about Brown Bag Films, as I left with a bit of a cliffhanger with the last time I talked about them. So, in summary, Brown Bag Films began as an Irish animation company run by Irish people, in contrast with the large animation scene in Ireland that was ran by US and Canadian companies. They eventually got big in children's animation, first with the TV show Olivia and into things like Doc McStuffins and Henry Huggle Monster. But the thing I want to mention is almost ironic. In 2015, Brown Bag Films was acquired by Canadian production company Nine Story Media Group. Though Cathal Gaffney, the other co-founder of Brown Bag Films, is still COO of the company, ensuring that Irish people are still in charge of this Irish animation studio. Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty is about an old woman, Granny O'Grim, telling a child the story of Sleeping Beauty. But as the story goes on, it seems she's injecting a bit of her own life into the story. Casey, what did you think of the film?
I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Um, I I really like Hoodwinked 2. Um, and it's got a lot of Hoodwinked 2 vibes. Uh, I also enjoyed the switching up the animation styles there. I think even though I am a Hoodwinked stan, I the 3D can get a little like abrasive on the eyes. So the 2D was nice. I thought it was fun. I love the little boy, you know,
Mhm.
who who among us hasn't been screamed at by their grandmother in their bedroom? It happens all the time.
Mhm.
It's very relatable.
So
Um,
true.
Also, who hasn't been not invited to who among us was uninvited from who
Who
hasn't been to a party?
who hasn't been invited to a party before? That's what you're trying to say.
Yes, who hasn't been invited to a party? All of us. All of us. So
And there's
many parties.
it's like I wouldn't want to be at a party that I have someone like me invited to it, you know?
So true. So true. To quote a wise man that I heavily admire.
But so this short I I just think is ugly. But it's like there's some good jokes here, but I just don't think it's ever that funny. It has the one idea, and it does the one idea okay. And then it's just like it doesn't even tell the whole story. Like it just fucking ends with Sleeping Beauty getting cursed, and then she makes it so that the ending is really that the old witch in the story just like curses everybody so that they'll die. And it's just like, okay, thanks, Granny. Uh that's the end of the short. And it's just like, was that it? Was that all you really could do? It's like, couldn't you done a little bit more? But I guess not.
Yeah, I guess it did feel like, oh, what are we gonna do now? It's like we could just end it. Like, oh, well, great, let's do that.
And I guess maybe I guess it plays into the like Granny is telling her own version of the story where it's like it's a lot more sympathetic to the witch rather than to the princesses and the fairies. And it's just like you can't really do the Sleeping Beauty story with making her sympathetic. So it's just like, what if instead we just fucking killed everybody? That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
and
And
and it wasn't. The boy was terrified. It wasn't fun.
I don't agree with gendering this child. It's like I feel like it's very gender neutral
You know
because
what? Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's like because I assumed it was a little girl. So it's like
Oh,
the
really?
fact is like I feel like we can't really definitively say what this child is.
I up until this very moment, I thought that like she had called him her grandson or something. Like I guess I just made that up in my head.
Maybe
Uh,
I wasn't paying attention. I don't know.
it's more likely that I wasn't paying attention.
Neither of us really paid attention to this short because it really isn't worth paying attention to because it's not that good. Except you liked it, I guess. So maybe that's wrong.
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, I laughed. I guess I don't know. I laughed. I lived. I laughed. I loved.
I did none of the three. Anyway, I think that's a good place to move on to our fourth nominee, which is for some reason my script isn't popping up. There we go. The Lady and the Reaper, directed by Javier Recio Gracia. This is the first and only nomination for Gracia, who got his artistic beginning by writing and publishing a graphic novel at the age of 16. He went to school for fine arts and got himself a job at Candor Graphics, Spain's leading animation studio, and also produced by Antonio Banderas. I didn't know he was into animation like that. Good for him. Uh, Throughout his career, he finds himself mainly as a story artist, including on Candor's two feature films, The Missing Links and Justin and the Knights of Valor. But of course, the main thing is his short film he got the chance to direct, The Lady and the Reaper, whose international success got him work in America, where he first worked solely at DreamWorks on films like Rise of the Guardians, The Cancelled Me and My Shadow, and The Boss Baby, before going freelance and working on things like Ferdinand, The Grinch, and other various animated films all as story artists. But let's go to the short at hand. The film had its origins in Gracia watching his own grandmother near the end of her life, and the development of the short evolved from a somber tone to something more comedic, bringing forth a rather straightforward comedic story with little struggle developing it and more struggle in just getting the CG animation to work the way they want it to. The Lady and the Reaper is about an old woman on the verge of death and the battle for her soul between the Grim Reaper and the extremely attractive doctor and nurses trying to save her life. Hijinks ensue. So, I think we have a good idea here. I think we have good animation here. I think we have some good jokes. However, I just felt myself just so uninterested in this. I I just I don't even understand why really. It just did not click together for me at all. It's just like I feel like I should like this more because it's like there were a couple jokes that I laughed at. It's like I enjoy the way this thing moves. I enjoy the little fantasy sequences as we're on like in like the soul realm, I guess, or whatever, purgatory. And it's just like, but it just by the end of it, I'm just left with nothing. I just feel like it's kind of gone in one eye and out the other. And it's like, I don't know. I just didn't really care that much for this. Casey, maybe you could shed a light on why I don't care for this.
um, I feel like it goes back to that thing. Well, actually, yeah, I feel like it goes back to that thing. Like it's they do a really great joke about three different ways that gets kind of I don't know. Maybe I guess I feel like I have this opinion only about short films. I don't know. It seems to be recurring, but that so I think it's pretty great up until uh the introduction of the doctor, and then it's like, oh, that's funny. Oh yeah, really great doctor. Uh, and then isn't that like half of the? I feel like that goes on a long time. Do the
Yeah,
joke a couple times,
it's the major, it's a central part of film. Like we have the little intro where she like dies or whatever, and then we go to the hospital. The Grim Reaper tries to take her, but then the doctor keeps saving her. Like that's the main part of the film.
Sure, I guess that's a good point. It's mainly about that. Yes, yes, yes. I think I think I just always want films to be shorter. 6 minutes,
Mhm.
bump it down to three, be shorter. Um, I don't know if that's why you didn't like it.
I
That was
mean,
a little bit I didn't
I
like.
I definitely understand that. Like I definitely like maybe it could be better if it just kind of cut down on a bit of the jokes and like
Mhm.
also I feel like the intro went on a bit too long. Like it's only a minute, where it's like but in a 6 minute short, it's like it takes up a lot of the runtime and it's just like
Sure.
eh. And it's like
Totally.
and I feel like the ending could have been funnier because it's like so
Yeah.
the whole joke, the whole punchline of the film is like, so the doctors eventually went out, they save her or whatever, or but then it's like she fucking punches the doctor as because she wanted to die because she wants to see her husband again, I assume, whom and then so she takes the fucking defibrillator, goes over to a sink or tub or whatever, or fills it with water, jumps in, puts the fucking defibrillator in with her, it dies, and like that's it. That's the ending. And it's like that could be funny, but I just feel like the way they did it, where it's just like she just goes off into the background and like does everything where we can hardly see her. And it's just like I don't know. I think you have ideas here, but I just don't think they're ever made in a way that's funny. And it's just like it's just missing the sauce. It's just like they you gotta have it in order to be funny in a film, in a short film especially. And this guy and Antonio Banderas just don't have it.
Man, Antonio's catching strays.
Yeah, he probably had nothing to do with this. It's like he's just listed in the credits because he was involved in the animation studio, but I feel like he had no creative control in this. I'm sorry, Antonio. Oh, but I just feel like being mean to you today. Kind of deserve it. I don't know. Maybe you don't. I don't know you. I'm sorry. Sorry, Antonio. If you think you should be canceled, just let me know, okay?
For the record, I love Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Thank you, Antonio Banderas.
Oh, I also love the Puss Boots the Last Witch. It's like one of my favorite movies last year.
It's so good.
It's
Uh,
again
um,
another movie he probably didn't have much creative control over, but anyway.
um, but yeah, I feel like it would have been like a really good section in a like a really good animated movie, like I don't know, Emperor's New Groove or something. You know what I mean? Like,
It,
oh, it's just fun.
it's also kind of funny this came out the same year as Up
Yeah.
because like it's another maybe this should have been with Carl from Up or that's the old guy, right? Carl?
Carl, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Carl.
Oh yeah, because the short with him before Elemental was Carl's date. Yeah. Um
Oh, Carl State.
yeah. But yeah, this maybe if Carl was the old person, it would have been funnier.
Hey, should have gotten Carl in place of
Hmm
whoever this old lady is.
Should have gotten Carl Weezer.
I don't even want to think about what kind of sound Carl Weezer would make after hopping in the tub with a defibrillator. That
Hi,
was great.
Jimmy. Oh my god.
Oh my God. Wow, I didn't know you could do such a good Carl Weezer.
I didn't know I could either.
Like and subscribe and rate the Weezer impression.
You got to do one. We got to have a competition. Who does a better Carl
Oh
Weezer?
no.
Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it.
Uh uh Hi Jimmy.
Perfect. Perfect.
Man,
Who among us doesn't love Carl Weezer?
who among us?
Hmm But yeah, I think that's a good place to move on. There just isn't much to say about this. Although I
Yeah.
actually do want your comment on just how attractive the doctor and the nurses are, because they are just weirdly attractive. Maybe it's the
They
Spanish
are
in them.
they are really attractive. It was definitely one of those things where it's like they didn't need to be attractive. I don't know why you made them attractive.
Also, it's like I guess I actually have more to say about this because I don't understand how like you have this doctor and like five nurses. How the fuck did they lose to just one guy? It's like I know he's the Grim Reaper, but it's like in
Yeah,
this way that they're showing it, it's like it's a game to keep away. Hey, and it's
right.
like you have fucking it's fucking 5-1,
Yeah.
and the one almost wins. It's just like what are you doing? It's just like you have no game.
He's Bones. He's this
He's
pathetic.
literally bones.
That's
Like
a great point.
it, yeah. Anyway, Spanish doctors bad at saving lives, even worse at saving the lives that don't want to be saved.
Now you're gonna get canceled. I'll probably
Just
get canceled for laughing.
yeah, I shit on France enough. It's just like it's time to give another European country the boot. Although speaking of which, I fucking hated having to pronounce four different French names in the first two films. It's fucking Hervé de Crécy and Ludovic Leblanc. It's like what the fuck? Francois Leloup, Fabrice Schubert. It's like what? Why the fuck are you doing this to me? This is why this is the worst here because there's too many fucking French people.
Go off.
Although it wasn't as bad as last year with Octobody, which had a fucking movie with six different directors,
Oh jeez.
and all of them have unpronounceable French names. Anyway, I think that's a good place to move on to our fifth and final nominee, which is A Matter of Loaf and Death, directed by Nick Park. This is Park's fifth and final nomination, the eighth and not final nomination for Aardman Animation, and the fourth and final nomination for Wallace and Gromit. Well, it's been a while, hasn't it? We haven't seen Park or Wallace and Gromit since they last won for a close shave over a decade before this film, and haven't seen Aardman since the 90s either. Where have they been? Well, they've been in Best Animated Feature. Aardman released their first film, Chicken Run, and accomplished a goal that Lord and Sprockton had envisioned since first starting Aardman in the 1970s, making a feature film. That film came out the year before Best Animated Feature was established as a category, but their next feature effort, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, ended up winning everyone an Oscar, continuing the Wallace and Gromit Oscar streak before everything comes crashing down with this film, the first Nick Park film to lose against someone other than himself. Those prior films, along with Flushed Away, which I like to ignore, were part of a production deal with DreamWorks to fund and distribute their films. But when that contract ended, Sony Pictures picked up the tab, and today's nominee was their first project. Eh, Um, yeah, was their first project under that deal. Oh, and with Sony Pictures was the film Arthur Christmas, as well as The Pirates, subtitle either An Adventure with Scientists or Band of Misfits, depending on where you live. When Sony ended the deal, Aardman then spent a bit of time independent from major studios and came into a bit of a funding crisis as a result. And even had Peter Lord turn to a Kickstarter to fund more films, which is like, come on, you're desperate. Although they did also release Early Man and the two Shaun the Sheep movies in collaboration with Studio Canal and BFI. But they eventually got a Netflix deal, which we will discuss in more detail on Aardman's next nomination. And hopefully we can even talk a bit more about what's next for Wallace and Gromit, because they do have a film coming out next year, but we know almost nothing about it. Anyway, for now, let's go back into this film, The Forgotten Stepchild among the Wallace and Gromit canon. This film was kind of a retreat for Nick Park. While Chicken Run and Were Rabbit were these massive half-a-decade productions, Loaf and Death was a lot quicker, though still large scale, perhaps even larger than Close Shave was, which back then was a bit daunting for Park, but by this point he's rather accustomed to the scale. The film had quite a few different animation teams, all working on their own sets with their own shot lists each day. And Park, who last time was sad about the lack of being hands-on, seems more content this go around, though he did at least film some reference footage for Gromit. He loves that little guy so much. The film was eventually released in Australia first on December 3rd, before a Christmas premiere in the UK on uh, the film would go on to win both the BAFTA and Annie Awards for Best Animated Short, but of course lost out on the Oscar. The film is about Wallace and Gromit, who now own a bakery business. The duo ends up saving Piella Bakewell and her dog Fluffles after they lose control of their bike. Wallace ends up falling in love with Bakewell, leaving Gromit alone to discover that she's been behind a series of murders involving bakers. Will Gromit be able to reveal the plan to Wallace before Bakewell achieves her baker's dozen, or will death do them part? Casey, what do you think of A Matter of Loaf and Death?
Okay, so for those who are not in our group chat, I texted our group chat and I said that you were going to kill me for a hot take that I would reveal on the air, and the time has come. I like this better than the wrong trousers and a close shave. I think I like this one a lot.
What's wrong with you? Explain.
I don't know. I think it's really funny and like something a trope that I've always really enjoyed, probably because of how like uncomfortable it makes me, is the thing like two best friends, one falls in love and the other one just looks really jealous, and then it turns out that the person's evil. They do it all the time. I can't think of anything else, but like I just always find that really funny. And then they have to get out of their wacky situation, and they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and it's like, "Oh no, I was wrong," and I love that kind of stuff. Uh, uh, I don't know. I think it's fun. I really like the animation in it. And I think it just perfectly stays its welcome. I think it leaves you wanting a little bit more.
Mhm. So, with this rewatch of the nominees, like as I've been watching the Wallace and Gromit shorts again, and it's like most of them I've improved my rating on. Grand Day Out, that went from a 3.5 to a 4. It's like Close Shave went from a 3.5 to becoming like one of my favorite nominees in this whole category. Hey, um, the Wrong Trousers actually dropped down a bit. Hey, and the reason why that dropped down is a similar reason to why, or one of the reasons why I don't really care for this one. Uh, and it's like the Wrong Trousers features a Wallace that does not care that much about Gromit, and he's such a dick to Gromit in the Wrong Trousers, and he's such a dick to Gromit here, and it's like ah, that this short as a whole just it just feels like it's completely like you can feel the fact that Nick Park has gone corporate and he has trouble coming back to like this more down to earth sphere with his Wallace and Gromit characters. It's like these are characters that are like meant to be like kind of homely, even though they do go on these like extreme adventures. But it's like, but as I watch this film, it's like it doesn't have it anymore. It doesn't feel like really like Wallace and Gromit anymore, or it's just so mediocre. And it's just like, and everything this film does just feels like a retread of things we've done before. It's just like the love interest just reminds me of a close shave, and it's just like I would I want to name more examples, but nothing's coming to mind right now. How? But it's just like everything in this film just it just isn't as good as it should be to me. And it's like it's just not that funny. It's not that charming. And it's like there's nothing in this film that I like that much. And it's like and I'm going to compare this to a recent film and it's like it makes me this feels like Nick Park's next goal wins because like Taika Waititi has just released next goal wins at the time of this recording, and it's like it's it was meant to be this grand coming back for him, but it I watched it the other day, and it's just so shallow and hollow and just heartless Like as just there's nothing in it that resembles like Taika Waititi's early work. It's just so corporate and mediocre. And it's like this isn't that bad. But it's not that good. I don't know really what it is because on the surface it looks like Wallace and Gromit. It's like it looks great. It's just like you have this great animation and things like that. It's just like yeah, this resembles Wallace and Gromit, but as you go through the movie, I just feel nothing. It just like it's lost. It's gone. And it's like I just hope that maybe one day, like maybe this next Wallace and Gromit film that's coming out next year will be better. I really hope that the next film is better than this because I just don't like this movie. Even though there is lots of stuff that I like about it because it is Wallace and Gromit and it's like still has a lot of like the great Aardman charm, the great set design. So there are some good action scenes in here. Like I do kind of like the finale and stuff, but I still just my heart's not in it, you know. And Wallace and Gromit's all about that heart. It's just yeah.
Rip.
I get is that all we have to say? Just our own opinions. It's like I
Um,
I
I
feel like
get that.
I just said everything. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I get that. I should also say though, not like people go hard for Wallace and Gromit. That's not where I'm at.
Mhm.
Um,
Including a mutual
I
friend of ours.
yeah, right. Um, I yeah, I what is that called? Like pretty passively. I do Curse of the Were Rabbit was like one of the first animated films I really remember liking. But I'm probably a bigger fan of Aardman's other stuff. Um, so I should say that also people who have an emotional attachment to Wallace and Gromit, they get, you know, I don't want to speak over anybody because I have no stake in the game. I just like when he's like, "Oh, are you still ballooning?" And she's like, I beg your pardon." I think stuff like that is so funny.
Yeah, it's like there's some good jokes in here, but it's just like it just doesn't come together for me. And it's just like and I guess part of it really is just the fact that I've been like watching these shorts, like seeing the series grow and then coming to this point, and it's just like and it's like this is also like a grand return for art, but it's just like but a lot of it I feel might be just the fact that there is expectations, I guess, which you know you shouldn't really do that to films. It's kind of unfair to go in with your own expectations for what the film should be. But at the same time, it's like this is a film that wants to be the fourth Wallace and Gromit movie, the fourth Wallace and Gromit short film. It's like we're coming back to this formula. It wants us to be like, oh, isn't it so great that you have Buddy Wallace and his dog back again? Yeah, right, mate. As but are they really back? Are they really? Is this supposed to be them? I don't think so. I think this is just a hollow replication, a hollow mimicry of them. And I don't accept this as a Wallace Gromit movie.
Hey, respect. You could lead a movement with that. I got chills a little bit there.
There
Hollow mimicry.
there is a. I feel like this is you pretty widely regarded as like the least one. It's like the one that people care about the least, or just isn't up to snuff with the other ones.
That's so sad.
Mhm. Actually, I just want to look at like the letterbox ratings to see if I'm right. So this one has a 3.7. So clearly most people do at least still like this, but
Great.
Wrong Trousers has a 4.2, Grand Day Out has a 4.1, Close Shave has a 4.1. Uh kind of seems like this is very widely known as lesser.
That's crazy. Major props to the lesser of four shorts and still having a 3.7 on Letterboxd. That's pretty solid.
Mhm. That's just because people really do love Wallace and Gromit. It's just like, even though they betrayed their ideals, it's like they could still garner a 3.7. I don't even know like how much of this is a bit right now, but it's just like I am just very disappointed with this film.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, at least I know that we agree that it's better than Logorama.
Oh yeah. Like this I did think this about like the other when I first watched this, I still thought this back then. And even then, it was my favorite winner or my favorite nominee this year. That it was just how bad this year was, but things
Sure.
might have shaken up. I won't totally reveal my ranking yet, but we'll get there when we get there. It's like
Yes.
even my first review of this, it's just like I the worst Wallace and Gromit movie beat out was the winner in the worst year of this category just because the other nominees were an unfunny short about a man who doesn't have his wallet, an unfunny short about old women telling a bedtime story, an unfunny short about a doctor in Grim Reaper fighting for an old lady's life, and then Logorama, which is the worst film I've ever seen. And that was the one that actually won. But yeah,
Ridiculous. Lost my
but
mind.
but now things have changed. So unless you have something else you'd like to say about this, we can just go on to our rankings.
I don't have anything to say about
That's
it.
that's disappointing. Anyway, sorry. I do have one more thing to say, which I think it's it's indicative that this film was the first Wallace and Gromit movie to not win an Oscar, at least excluding the first one, which lost to just another Nick Park movie. As just like I feel like that more than anything is like the death blow for this film, which like
Sure.
it still won the BAFTA because the BAFTAs are fucking trash. I don't know. I didn't mean that. Uh, it still won the BAFTA because they fucking go crazy for Wallace and Gromit. But the Academy Awards, I imagine, are a bit more uh even-headed or level-headed about them. And so it's just like when they suck, and it's just like, yep, they do suck. Anyway, now that we've gone through and talked about the five nominees, let's rank them all. Casey, start us off with your number five.
Number five, Logorama.
Same here, Logorama, just a bad movie. And while it's better than I thought it was, it's not the worst film in this category anymore, or not the worst film like overall in this category. It's still pretty bad. Like I'm gonna go quickly look at my ranking of the nominees and see where it places. So out of 387 films, Logorama ends up at 373, and it is the third worst winner out of the 91 we have at least. Oh, one of those winners below it, I'm about to record the episode for it in a couple days, so we'll get that. Might change, it might be second worst, but currently it's the third worst film behind The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse and Peter and the Wolf, which maybe my opinion will change on, we'll see. But yeah, number four.
Let's see. Let's see. Number four, I'm gonna go Lady and the Reaper.
Interesting. My number four is Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty. Uh, I just didn't think it was funny. It just wasn't that funny. Number
I
three.
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go Granny O'Grim's Sleeping Beauty.
My number three is Lady and the Reaper, which I just want to point out. The letterbox poster of this film has this really kind of like nice stained glass style to it. It's 2D film with like the Grim Reaper and this lady. But it's like the film doesn't look like that. There was nothing that poster just not resemble the film in any way. And it's
Oh no, it doesn't. I see it now.
yeah, it's like what are you doing here? Anyway, number
Oh,
two.
uh, what is it? French roast is my number two, of course.
Of course. Ooh. Uh my my number two is A Matter of Loaf and Death. Wallace and Gromit have failed me.
This is ridiculous.
Bro, what?
I feel
You've
I
been
feel like
groaning at all my rankings except for Logorama.
I feel like every time I'm on, we like our our picks are like switched. So my third will be your second or whatever, and it's getting frustrating. I want us to agree.
I feel like we didn't disagree that much in our last episode, did we?
No, last episode we were pretty much on the same page. We both
It
thought that Jimmy Carter singing Ray Charles was really funny.
yeah, it's like we even if our ranking was different that episode, it's like we still just had a fun chill time then.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But yeah, tell us
So
about your
back
number
then.
one, Casey.
Number one, Wallace and Gromit and the whatever it was, Matter of Loaf and Death.
Matter of Loaf and Death. Uh, fuck you. Anyway, kidding, kidding. Number one is French Roast, just the silly, funny movie about a guy who lost his wallet. It,
Hilarious.
and it's like, yeah, this is not one of the better lineups of this category. It is one of the worst. But at the same time, even in the worst of times, you could still find a half decent short or two.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, uh before we end our show, are there any final thoughts you'd like to share, Casey, or anything you'd like to promote?
Uh, I after years and years of trying, I finally have a podcast of my own. I can stop mooching off of the success of my other friends' podcasts. Um, it's called This Is the Ticket. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I'm sure other places where people listen to podcasts. It's pretty casual. It's me and my friend Ari Wojciech. Um, and we talk movies and we talk life, and we always end with a poem.
Oh,
If you like my voice, you can listen to it more. This is the ticket.
oh, that's nice.
It's
Uh,
fun. It's a good time.
yeah. So everybody, go listen to Casey's podcast. Uh,
Thanks, everybody.
do you have guests on them? Will I ever be on it?
Absolutely. To answer your second question, absolutely. You'll be on it super quick. Um, Around the time that we're recording this, our first guests episode will go up this week. And yeah, we're working on having more guests, so it's not so Casey and Ari loaded.
Hmm. All right. Well, whenever I do go on, I will be excited to continue my rant about how a matter of loaf and death sucks. How it betrays the Wallace and Gromit brand. But
They go off.
but I think that's a good place to end for our show. Thank you, Casey, for coming on the show, and thank you, listener, for tuning in. This has been the short podcast about short films. Until next time, goodbye.